And next, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the history of essential oils. So the history of essential oils, they've actually date clear back, and they are recorded in the Bible, clear back in the book of Genesis. Essential oils were so common in ancient history that you won't go back and necessarily find recipes. It was as common to them then as what like Tylenol and ibuprofen are to us today. So I'm not going to say, hey, you need to take a Tylenol two Tylenols every 3 hours for the next 48 hours to help you. Like that's just not how we talk. Like I would say, hey, it sounds like you probably need a Tylenol, and go on from there. That's the same way that they spoke back then. Hey, you probably need this oil, because it was common. It was very, very common. And then as modern day medication came on the scene, essential oils became less and less known. They just got overtaken. And then essential oils were rediscovered at the end of World War II. And since then, every single year, we see more benefits and more just in-your-face results that we can't deny, to the point that we're learning more and more about them every single year. And that is why we are now hearing more about them. And there's a huge gap in the middle that they were just kind of lost. So that's kind of the history of essential oils and how we get through today. So a little bit about my story and how I got started. I was totally one of the people that were like, you said what? And you want me to put what oil where? Are you kidding me? I had nothing to do with it and had no interest in it whatsoever. And then I enrolled our oldest, my little Anna Faith, who was running around here somewhere, who is now 8 years old. She was 5, and it was time to send her off to kindergarten. And like, I had those normal, oh my word, I'm sending my firstborn to school, and somebody else is going to have her 8 hours every day. And it's okay though. Like at that point in time, we lived in Georgia, and Georgia is very similar to here, except for instead of your neighbors being about a mile apart, they're only half a mile apart, but it's still that small country hometown feeling. Like you knew your neighbors, and you knew the school, and you knew the teacher, so it was gonna be okay. Like I had made it. She's going to school. We can do this. We got it. So this was on a Tuesday. On Wednesday, my husband goes and takes a test for his work, and he passes with flying colors, which is awesome. Good for him. Except for on Thursday, the company calls and they said, "You passed. You did fabulous. We're gonna send you to St. Louis." Like what? Okay, that's fine. Like, when are we talking? Like, I've got some months to, like, mentally prepare for this, right? And they're like, nope, we're sending you in 2 weeks. Oh.
Not sending you, moving.
Moving you, like, we're picking you up and moving you in 2 weeks. I'm like, well, that's not really on my schedule. And next week, like, this is Thursday, starting Monday, I taught Vacation Bible School, our 2 and 3-year-olds, Vacation Bible School at our church. And we were a rather large church, so I had 26 2 and 3-year-olds at church, and I don't know if y'all know or not, but that's not normally the favorite class to get at church. So I'm like, okay, my nerves are shot, because we started out the week sending my firstborn off to like registering for school. We got this. Now we are moving to St. Louis, and now we got 26 2 and 3-year-olds that I've got to keep it together, because I have to teach this class, because there isn't anybody else that wants to teach it. So needless to say, my system goes in overdrive, and I am running to the restroom every 10 to 15 minutes. I have cut back my diet to where I am literally drinking water, and I am eating oatmeal, and it's doing me no good. So this is where my crazy hippie chick friend comes in. She was like, "Hey Donna, you need some lavender oil." I'm like, what? No. She was like, "Put it on your wrist, put it behind your ears. It's going to calm you down. You're going to be good to go." All right, fine. So there is a health food store just down the street from our church. So I run down there. I'm like, I need the most expensive lavender oil you have, because you get what you pay for, right? So like, most expensive one, let me have it. Okay, so they give this to me. I put it on my wrist, put it by my ears. I get it back up to the church, and I kid you not, I'm now teaching my 2 and 3-year-olds. What did you do to me? This is not any better. She looks at me, she was like, "What did you do?" I said, "You told me to use lavender oil." She was like, "Oh. What did you do?" I said, "I ran down to the health food store." I was like, "I bought the most expensive one. Like, it's good. I bought the most expensive one." She was like, "Oh, no. No, there's a difference. Like, you have to use Young Living's." And I'm like, okay, now look here. You're crossing a line, because, like, it was lavender plant, and somebody squished it up, and they put it in a bottle, and then I put it on my wrist, and I put it behind my ears the way you said. And she was like, "Well, that's not exactly how that works." Okay, fine. Like, give me whatever you got. So I put on Young Living oils. Not only did it stop the shakes from the first one, but I was no longer running to the restroom either. I don't know what you did. I don't know how much it cost, but I need it now. So like, just tell me how to get it, and I want it. So, needless to say, long story short, I ended up with my kit, my entire starter kit for the bottle of lavender. Like, that was it. I don't care what else is in there. This is all I need. So, I'm a researcher by nature. So then, I'm like, okay, let's figure out what just happened there. So I start researching different qualities of essential oils, and it turns out there's 4 grades: A, B, C, and D. Grade A is your 100% pure. There are no synthetics, no pesticides, no nothing used on the crops, and the crops grounds are rotated, so like they have all the nutrients they need in there, and then they are bottled they're distilled at low temperature, so they don't kill any of the good stuff in there, and they are bottled. And that's it. The only thing in your bottle is 100% pure essential oil. This is grade A, top of the line. We got it. Awesome. Grade B is your food grade. So these companies are starting to care more about quantity than quality. So they're going to put some sort of filler in there or something to give it an extended shelf life, which is a synthetic. And they're going to start putting some other stuffs in there, which are synthetic. And they put them on the shelf because they're still consumable with minimal side effects. Okay, so this is grade B. Grade C gets kind of scary. Grade C are all about quantity and don't care at all about quality. They want to grow the crops as fast as possible. They want to grow as many crops as fast as possible. So they don't worry about using just the healthy ones in the middle. They use the ones on the sides. They use all of it. They get it in there, then they use solvents such as hexane and things of that nature to get as much oils out of those plants as possible. So I do a little research on hexane, and it's actually tied to cancer. But they're putting all this in their essential oil bottles. Like, okay, well then the FDA steps in. And the FDA says if you're going to put pure essential oils on your label, you need to have at least 5% of essential oil in that bottle, and we don't care what you fill the rest of it with. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Like now I'm thinking back to that original bottle of oil that I got and the shakes I got afterwards, and I'm like, what on earth did I do? Because they can fill the other 95% with alcohol, with other synthetics, whatever. It doesn't care. Doesn't matter. Okay, we get past this. I have no idea what I've actually used on my skin at this point in time, and then we find grade D. And grade D sounds so lovely to start with. Grade D is called floral water. I'm like, ooh, this is pretty. Like, I want some of this too. What is this? Floral water, turns out that they go to one of the first ABC people, and when they distill their essential oils, there's a water runoff. That's actually wastewater, and they are allowed to get that and put it in a bottle. And then the FDA steps in and they're like, hey, if you're going to put the label on it that says pure, you have to have at least 5% in there. So you have 5% of wastewater, maybe a little more, depending on the company, and 95% of something else. I'm like, oh, now I might be sick. Like, that sounds real lovely, but I don't think so. So I stopped there. I didn't want to actually know what I put on my skin the first time. I just knew that it didn't work, and now I have good stuff that is fixing the whole issue. So I dig more into Young Living, and it turns out that Gary Young has a seed-to-sale promise. Gary Young was actually brought up in Idaho, which is where the original farms were, on farm. Like, he grew up digging in the dirt, running the mountains, like good old country boy is what we're talking. And he does not understand why anybody would take God's precious creation and fill it full of junk and give it to people just to make extra money. So that's all of that to say, this is why I ended up with Young Living, and this is why I will only use Young Living. And if you want to see the farms and the things of that nature, you can go to seed2seal.com. And they have got videos up, they have pictures up of all of the farms. You can actually go to any of the farms and you can walk right on them. They will show you around, they'll show you the distillation, all of that fun stuff. Just be careful because they might put you to work, because again, they don't use the pesticides and things to kill the weeds, so they're actually out there pulling the weeds by hand. So you might be put to work. It's actually kind of fun though, because you're surrounded by other people. And their distillation process, when you actually get to the point that you're distilling the oils, if they're not distilled at the peak season, if the plants have had too much water, they've had not enough water, too much sun, not enough sun, you name it, like, it could cause the essential oil to not be as effective as what it could be. So Gary Young actually sends a man out into the fields when it's about time to harvest, and they do a mini distillation right there in the fields every 30 minutes until the numbers get to Gary's acceptable level. So we actually do our own testing, and it is sent out to third-party testing, so that it's kosher. It's not just Gary saying it's good. And I will say that there is a beloved oil called Valor that Gary Young actually bought a new farm for in Canada, 2015, and they distilled all of this oil to make Valor to get it back on the market because everybody wanted it. And the new farm got too much rainfall, and when they went to bottle the oil, it did not hit the numbers by Gary's standards. It hit them by everybody else's, but not by Gary's, and he actually threw out over $1 billion worth of oils because he said that's not how it's supposed to be. So I hate waiting on my oil sometimes, but knowing that whenever I get the bottle of oil in my hands that I don't have to worry about what's in it, it makes it all worthwhile. I know that I can put this on myself and on my kids, and I don't have to worry about it.